There is a van sitting on a dealer lot right now, or parked in somebody's driveway with a handwritten sign taped inside the windscreen that looks like the answer to the next 20 years of your life. Room to sleep, room for the grandchildren, somewhere the fishing gear finally fits, and a number on the windscreen that makes the whole idea feel possible. But a fair share of those vans will drain a savings account long before they ever get you to the Grand Canyon, and the badge on the grill tells you almost nothing about which is which. The model year does. The transmission does. Whether the dealer network still stocks parts does. So this is 17 vans I would walk straight past, ranked from bad to worst, judged on documented recalls, the failures that keep showing up in owner reports, real-world fuel figures, and what happens when you need a part in a small town on a Sunday. After that, 5 vans I would actually hand money over for. Not the ones with the best marketing, the ones that are still running at 200,000 miles. And I will say this early, Volkswagen shows up on the bad list 3 separate times. There is a reason for that, and we will get to it. I have also put together a guide covering the costs that quietly work on you once you own one of these, the ones nobody mentions at the point of sale. I will tell you where to find it in a few minutes. Let us start at 17. Number 17. The Chevrolet City Express. At a glance, this looks like a sensible little work van. Easy to park at the supermarket, plenty of cargo room for its size, cheap to insure. Here is the part most listings will not tell you. The City Express is a Nissan NV200 with a bow tie badge glued to the nose. Same body, same engine, same continuously variable transmission. So this entry takes 2 vans off your shopping list at once. The 2-liter 4-cylinder makes around 130 horsepower, which is fine empty and miserable the moment you load it. Merging onto an interstate with the van full is genuinely unpleasant. The continuously variable transmission is the weak point, and when one starts slipping, the repair is rarely small. Chevrolet stopped selling it after 2018. Nissan stopped shortly after. That means a shrinking part supply and technicians who have not touched one in years. The roof is far too low to stand under, so a camper conversion means crawling. It is a small van that promised practicality and quietly stopped being practical. Number 16. The Ram ProMaster City. This one looks clever. It is essentially a Fiat Doblo sold under a Ram badge, and it drives better than most small vans on the road. The steering is sharp, the load floor is low, and the turning circle is genuinely useful. The 9-speed automatic is where owners lose patience. It hunts through the low gears, thumps on downshifts, and repairs run into serious money. Owners also report electrical faults, an infotainment screen that reboots on its own, and brake wear that arrives sooner than it should for a van this size. Ram discontinued it after 2022, so you are buying an orphan with an Italian drivetrain and a shrinking dealer network, which is a combination that ages badly. If you want something small, there are better options that will still have parts on a shelf in 10 years. Number 15. The Ford Transit Connect, the 2010 through 2013 version. A lot of people love the idea of this van, and the older ones look like a bargain on a used lot. The problem is what is underneath. The first American Transit Connect is built on a Ford Focus, with a 2-liter engine making somewhere around 136 horsepower and an old 4-speed automatic behind it. Loaded up, it strains. There is also a strange piece of history here. Ford shipped these in from Turkey, fitted with rear windows and seats, so they would be taxed as passenger vans, then removed the seats and glass on arrival. That is why so many early ones have odd body panels and blanked-off window frames, and why body repairs can get awkward. Owners report transmission trouble at higher mileage, recurring electrical faults, and interior plastics that wear through early. The ride is stiff. The roof is far too low to convert into anything you can stand in. Cheap to buy. That is where the good news stops. Number 14. The Mercedes-Benz Metris. On paper, this should be the sweet spot. Smaller and cheaper than a Sprinter, bigger than a minivan, and it wears a 3-pointed star. It handles well, the seats are good, and it feels solid on the road. Then the first service bill arrives. Routine maintenance costs far more than any mainstream van in this size class, and specialist parts mean you cannot simply pull into whatever garage is nearest. Owners report expensive electrical faults, sensor failures, and a transmission that can turn sulky. Mercedes stopped selling the Metris in North America after the 2023 model year. Dealer familiarity will thin out from here, and it was never a common van to begin with. For someone on a fixed income planning long trips, that ownership profile is exactly the wrong shape. Number 13. The Volkswagen Routan. This is the first of the three Volkswagens, and it is the most cynical vehicle on the entire list. The Routan is a Dodge Grand Caravan. Volkswagen did not build it, did not engineer the drivetrain, and did not fix any of its problems. They restyled the nose, firmed up the suspension slightly, changed the badges, and sold it through Volkswagen showrooms from 29 through 2014. So you inherit every Chrysler minivan fault of that era, and we will get to exactly what those are at number 1, while paying Volkswagen dealer rates to have them looked at. Owners report the same transmission failures, the same electrical gremlins, the same interior wear. Volkswagen walked away from it in 2014. Resale reflects that. If you want the Chrysler van, buy the Chrysler van and pay less. There is no version of this that makes sense. Number 12. The Volkswagen Eurovan. The second Volkswagen, and this one hurts, because people genuinely love them. The Winnebago camper version with the pop top is exactly the vehicle a lot of men picture when they imagine retirement on the road. The VR6 engine sounds wonderful. The automatic transmission behind it is the problem, and failures are common enough that specialists treat it as a matter of when rather than if. Add coolant leaks, electrical faults, and the peculiar difficulty of finding anybody within 100 miles who has worked on one. Parts come from a small pool of importers and specialist suppliers, so a job that would take 3 days on a domestic van can take 3 weeks on this. And the camper versions carry the same drivetrain as the ordinary ones, with several hundred more pounds of cabinetry, fridge, and pop-top sitting on top of it. The dream is real. The maintenance schedule that comes with it is a second hobby. Number 11. The Nissan Quest, the 2004 through 2009 generation. Nissan tried something bold with this one. Curved dashboard, center-mounted instruments, glass roof panels, a shape that looked like nothing else in the car park. It was interesting. It was also troublesome. Owners report transmission failures, a long list of electrical faults, and interior components that break and cannot easily be replaced because the design was unique to these years. Water leaks around the roof panels turn up repeatedly. The unusual dash means even simple faults become expensive. Depreciation was brutal, which is why they show up so cheap now. That low price is a signal, not a bargain. If you are hunting a used minivan to travel in, this generation is one to leave sitting. By the way, if you are getting something useful out of this, hit subscribe. I go through vehicles like this every week, and the list you avoid matters more than the list you want. Now, number 10. Number 10. The Chevrolet Uplander, and its twin, the Pontiac Montana SV6. General Motors built these from 2005 to 2009, and they were outclassed the day they arrived. The 3.5 and 3.9-liter V6 engines carry a history of intake gasket trouble. The interiors were plain even when new. The serious issue is crash protection. In frontal offset testing of the period, these vans performed near the bottom of the minivan class, with structural intrusion into the footwell that most rivals had already engineered out. If you are putting grandchildren in the back, that is not a small detail. General Motors killed the whole line in 2009 and stayed out of minivans entirely afterward, which tells you what they thought of it. Cheap, plentiful, and not worth the risk. Number 9. The Chevrolet Astro and GMC Safari. Here is where nostalgia gets expensive. These rear-wheel drive vans have a devoted following. They tow well, and the 4.3-liter Vortec V6 is a tough old engine. Plenty of people have converted them into small campers, but everyone on the road now is at least 20 years old. and rust is the killer. Rockers, floor pans, rear wheel arches, and the area around the rear door hinges corrode from the inside out. A van that looks straight in photographs can be soft underneath, and structural rust is not a job worth paying for on a vehicle this age. Mechanically, intake gasket leaks and central port fuel injection faults are common. The doghouse engine cover means the engine sits between the front seats, so serious work means dismantling the cabin, and the heat and noise on a long drive wear on you. There is also nothing modern about the safety equipment. No stability control, no side protection, brakes designed for a different era. Get one inspected on a lift before you even discuss a price. Number 8. The Nissan NV2500 and NV3500. Nissan built these full-size vans from 2012 to 2021, and they got the basics right. The 5.6-liter V8 is a genuinely strong engine. The frame is stout, and the high-roof version has real standing room. The fuel economy is the problem. Real-world figures land in the low teens, and a heavy camper build pushes that down further. On a long trip, that difference compounds at every fill. Ride quality when unladen is jittery and loud. The interior feels like a delivery vehicle, and the enormous nose makes it awkward to place in a campground or a supermarket car park. Owners report electrical faults and air conditioning failures. Nissan stopped building them in 2021 and has largely stepped back from commercial vans in North America. Dealer familiarity and parts depth will only get thinner. A strong bones, wrong economics. Number 7. The Ford E-Series, the old Econoline. This is one of the most familiar shapes in America, and it has earned its loyalty. Parts are everywhere. Mechanics understand it, and a good one is genuinely rebuildable. Now the specific problem. The 3-valve 5.4-liter V8, used through much of the 2000s, has a well-documented spark plug design that can eject a plug from the cylinder head or snap-on removal and leave part of the plug buried in the engine. Both outcomes turn a routine tune-up into serious money, and the repair often means specialist tooling or a head off the engine. Beyond that, rust in the floors, rockers, and rear door frames is common on any northern van. The ride is truck firm, and fuel economy is poor even by full-size standards. Safety equipment is minimal by any modern measure. Ford ended the passenger version after 2014. If you go this route, get the engine history in writing and find out exactly what was done about the plugs. Number 6. The Chevrolet Express and the GMC Savannah, the older body. Same van, 2 badges, so both go on the list together. General Motors sold this basic design for an extraordinarily long stretch, and by the end it was a museum piece with a license plate. The V8 returns roughly 10 to 13 miles per gallon in real driving, worse loaded. The 4-speed automatic behind it wears, and rebuilds are common at high mileage. Older examples rust hard along the rockers and around the rear doors. Suspension components sag under a camper build. The safety picture is the real objection. The older body has no side curtain protection and no modern structure, and it was never subjected to the crash testing programs that shaped every other vehicle on the road today. It is roomy and it is simple, and that keeps people buying them. But running one as a travel vehicle means feeding it constantly and accepting protection from a different decade. Number 5. The Volkswagen Vanagon and the Westfalia Camper. The third Volkswagen, and the most romantic vehicle on this entire list, the pop-top Westfalia, with the little sink and the swiveling seat, is a genuinely lovely thing, and I understand completely why people want one. The Wasserboxer engine is why I would not. It is a water-cooled flat 4 with an aluminium block and cast-iron liners, and the joint between them is a known failure point. Head gasket and coolant sealing failures are a recurring, expensive story, and a rebuild is specialist work at specialist rates. It also makes somewhere around 90 horsepower and has to move roughly 4,000 pounds. Climbing a mountain pass in one is a slow, loud, deeply committed experience. Heating is weak. Rust in the floors and rear corners is common, and every part comes from a small network of enthusiasts and importers. Buy one because you love it and you have a good mechanic and a budget for surprises. Buy one as reliable transport for retirement, and it will teach you a hard lesson on a shoulder somewhere in Wyoming. Number 4. The Land Rover Defender Camper Conversion. Every list like this eventually arrives at Land Rover, and the Defender conversion has become a fashionable build. It looks magnificent, parked at the end of a dirt track. The modern Defender runs air suspension, and air suspension failures are a familiar and costly repair. Add electrical faults, oil leaks, and an electronics architecture complicated enough that most independent garages will not touch it. That means dealer or specialist labor, dealer or specialist parts, and long waits for both. Then think about where you would actually be using it. The whole appeal is going somewhere remote. The nearest Land Rover specialist to somewhere remote is usually several hundred miles and one flatbed away. It is a superb vehicle when it is working. The trouble is how much of the year that is. Before we get into the final 3, a word about the guide. Fuel is the cost everybody talks about. It is not the one that catches people out. The costs that actually work through a van owner's savings are the ones that arrive without warning, and I have put every one of them into the Camper Van Owner's Guide, along with the inspection checklist I would use before handing anybody a deposit and the specific things to look at underneath a van on a lift. The link is in the description, and it is pinned in the top comment. There is a code on screen too, if you would rather scan it with your phone. Take a minute, grab it, and then let us finish this. Number 3. The Honda Odyssey, the 1999 through 2004 generation. This one surprises people, because Honda's reputation is exactly what sends buyers looking at them. That reputation was built by other Hondas. The automatic transmission in these Odysseys failed at a rate serious enough that Honda extended the warranty coverage out to 7 years, or 100,000 miles, and issued recalls covering several model years. Owners reported failures at mileages where a Honda has no business failing, and many went through more than one replacement. Everything around it is decent. The van drives well, the interior is sensible, the packaging is clever. That is what makes it dangerous, because the thing that will end the van gives very little warning until it starts slipping. A vehicle that is reliable in every respect except the single most expensive component is not a reliable vehicle. Number 2. The Ford Windstar and the Freestar. This is the most serious mechanical problem on the entire list, and it is not close. In 2010, Ford recalled hundreds of thousands of Windstars built between 1999 and 2003 because the rear axle could crack, and in the worst cases, separate, not wear, crack. A second recall covered corrosion in the front subframe. Those are structural failures on a vehicle designed to carry a family. The Freestar that replaced it carried its own problems, including transmission trouble and torque converter failures, and neither van has aged well in rust-prone states. Ford exited the minivan business entirely after this and never came back to it in North America. When a manufacturer that size abandons a whole category, the vehicle is usually the reason. If someone offers you one at any price, the answer is no. Number 1. The Chrysler Town & Country and the Dodge Grand Caravan, 28 through 2016. These are everywhere. They are cheap, and they are the single most common base for a budget camper conversion in North America. That is exactly why they take the top spot. 2 failures define them. The first is the 6.2TE automatic transmission, which fails often enough that rebuild shops treat it as routine work, and the bill regularly runs past what the van is worth. The second is the totally integrated power module, the electrical box that controls the fuel pump, the lights, the wipers, and the starting system. When it fails, the symptoms are chaotic. The van will not start, or will not stop running, or the wipers come on by themselves. Diagnosis alone can take hours, and the module is not a cheap part. On top of that, the rear suspension sags under the weight of any real camper build. Oil leaks are common as mileage climbs, and crash protection in the earlier years is well behind anything current. Remember number 13, the Volkswagen Rutan? This is the van underneath it, which means the same faults are sitting under 3 different badges in this list, and a lot of people have bought one without ever knowing it. The low price is the whole trap. Everything after the purchase is where the money goes. So that is 17. Now the 5 I would actually put money on. Number 5 on the good list, the Kia Carnival, 2022 and newer. Kia is not the badge most people expect here, and that is precisely the point. The current Carnival gets a conventional automatic rather than a continuously variable transmission, which removes the single most common failure mode in this whole category. Build quality is a long way from where Kia was 15 years ago. The warranty coverage is the longest in the business, and the seats fold flat enough to sleep on without cutting into anything. For someone who wants to travel comfortably without owning a commercial vehicle, it does the job quietly and cheaply. Number 4. The Ford Transit, 2020 and newer, with the 3.5-liter V6. Skip the turbocharged version. The naturally aspirated 3.5 V6 with the 10-speed automatic is the sensible choice, and it is the one to look for. The Transit is the most serviceable full-size van in the country. Every Ford dealer knows it. Parts sit on shelves in every town, and the high-roof version gives real standing room without a lift kit. The box shape makes a conversion straightforward, and the driving position and ride are far more car-like than anything on the bad list. It is the boring, correct answer, and boring is what you want 300 miles from home. Number 3. The Ram ProMaster, 2019 and newer. The ProMaster is front-wheel drive, and that single decision gives you the lowest, flattest cargo floor of any full-size van. Square walls, vertical sides, no wheel arches eating into the space. If you are building anything inside, it is the easiest van in the country to work with. The front-wheel drive layout also pulls you through wet grass and gravel better than most people expect, which matters when a campground turns to mud. Running costs stay reasonable, and Ram's dealer coverage is broad. Stick to 2019 and newer, keep the service records, and this is a lot of usable van. Number 2. The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, 2019 and newer, with a documented service history. The Sprinter earns its reputation, but only under one condition. It has to have been looked after, and you have to be able to prove it. Bought properly, the newer Sprinter is the best long-distance van sold in North America. The diesel gives genuine range, the ride at highway speed is comfortable, in a way no other van manages, and the interior height and length are unmatched. It will run enormous mileages when the maintenance schedule has been respected. Bought carelessly, it is a Mercedes with deferred maintenance, and that is a different vehicle entirely. Pay for a good one now, or pay a specialist later. There is no third option. And number 1, the Toyota Sienna Hybrid, 2021 and newer. I know this is not what people expect at the top of a van list. Hear me out. Since 2021, every Sienna is a hybrid, and the fuel economy is somewhere in the mid-30s in real driving. Against the 10 to 13 you get from an old full-size van, that is not an improvement. It is a different way of living. On a 3,000-mile trip, the difference pays for a lot of nights out. All-wheel drive is available. The seats fold into a flat-load floor long enough to sleep on. It drives like a car, parks like a car, and Toyota's hybrid drivetrain is the most thoroughly proven system of its kind, with hundreds of thousands of taxis and fleet vehicles behind the data. Servicing is available in every town in the country at ordinary prices. You give up standing room. That is the trade. What you get back is a vehicle you can take anywhere without ever wondering whether it will start, and resale so strong that owning one costs remarkably little over the years you keep it. For most people watching this, planning long trips and wanting no drama, that is the right van. It just does not look the part, and that is exactly why it is such a good buy. So there it is. 17 vans I would walk past and 5 I would happily own. But the van itself is only half the decision. The other half is what it costs to keep it moving once it is yours, and that is the part nobody spells out on the forecourt. Everything I know about it is in the Camper Van Owner's Guide. The link is in the description, it is pinned in the top comment, and the code is on screen now. Get it before you go and look at anything. because the worst possible time to learn what a van really costs is after you have already bought it. Safe travels, and I will see you in the next one.